Hi, friends. Max Helash here. On this episode of the Corpus Animus podcast, we have training think tank athlete Kyle Bernier. Currently sits in the top 100 in the world. He's been to 2 regionals and a sanctional, but not quite a professional athlete in the sport. So an interesting story where we talk about his past training, what he's done to navigate injuries on a regular basis, and why he would rather poop his pants than have stinky farts. Before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button because we're on our road to 35K subscribers. And when we hit that milestone, we're going to give away a Black Zinc Rogue 2.0 barbell. Leave a comment below telling us what your favorite part of this podcast was. That comment is what's going to enter you into the giveaway. Once we reach that 35,000 subscriber milestone, we'll use a random YouTube comment generator on one of these videos where we promoted the giveaway to draw a worldwide winner for that bar. So all you got to do is be subscribed and comment below to enter. Train along some of the best athletes in the world at the sport of CrossFit. To get a free sample week of our current training cycle, head over to trainingthinktank.com/DSGN. I got off track already. So we started at Conception, went to your last competitive year. Go back to 9.
Go back to 9 years old.
Go back to 9.
Okay. Yeah.
Catch everyone up.
I guess there's a lot in there.
Yeah.
Well, I was born in Florida, Naples, Florida, so far south. Then
Naples, Florida is like Old Town.
Yeah.
You were the youngest guy in Naples.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was, I mean, not that I remember a lot of it, but it was, that's where I was raised for a little bit. And then at 9 years old, we moved to the western part of North Carolina, which to this day, I still don't know how we found where we moved to.
Like that area?
Yeah.
It's what's in there?
Nothing. Nothing. We have a Walmart.
That's it.
That's it.
Have you ever asked your parents or?
Yeah, I mean, I have. And my dad, he was a construction worker and he knew some people who connected him with work in Murphy, North Carolina. And then at some point he just decided he wanted to move us there. And us as kids were like, the mountains. Yeah, that's awesome. And my mom was like, don't do this. This is a terrible idea. And he wanted to take us. So we went there. And so from 9 years old all the way through till even like college years, like I was in the western part of North Carolina.
Cool.
So when people ask me where I grew up, like I tell them that.
Pretty much North Carolina.
Yeah, that's where I grew up.
So would you consider yourself like a country guy, like a mountain man?
To a degree. Yeah. Yeah. There's certain characteristics about myself that would be, mountain man-ish, but I don't have like the southern draw. Like,
yeah.
Who was it that said CTP has a southern draw the other day?
Yeah, he does. I think so.
Yeah. Alessandro said he had a real southern draw and we were both like, you have no idea how bad it can get.
It can get to the point that you can't even understand people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, in some regards, I'm still, I guess, beachy, surfer boyish, but also was raised in the mountains. So just a little bit of both, I guess.
Beachy. Was there a beach there?
Yeah. So Naples is right on the water.
Oh yeah.
So
Naples is.
Yeah. So from there, grew up on the water, was always on a boat or whatever, swimming. And then went to the mountains. We had lakes and stuff, but we spent more time like 4-wheeling outside, and that's where I got into football. And
what's your sporting background? I know some of these questions, so I'm just kind of like throwing you some meatballs.
Yeah, appreciate it. Yeah, no, my sporting background is primarily football and track.
Yeah,
grew up, started playing football in the 4th grade, and like the peewee, realm, and then into high school and all that. And started running track in middle school. Was pretty decent at it. And
what was your race or events?
I forget what it was in middle school, but in high school, I became a hurdler. And I became a hurdler because we were watching film from one of my football games, and our track coach was also a football coach.
And you hurdled
and apparently I hurdled somebody in the game. Not like, he was like falling down. I didn't have the ball or anything, but he was falling down in front of me, and I jumped over him. And then I had to jump over something else, like all in the same play. And he just paused it and looked at me and was like, Bernier, you're going to be a hurdler this season. I was like, oh, all right. And it worked out because then I ended up being 300-meter hurdler. The 110 high hurdles was pretty good at it. Yeah. And ended up being able to go to college and do both football and track.
You played both sports all the way through?
Just for 2 years. Okay. Yeah, for 2 years. And then I decided I wanted to pursue CrossFit more seriously.
Really? So, I didn't know that was it. Literally in college was when you made the decision. Were you doing CrossFit for your strength and conditioning or just for fun or what?
I was adding it in, and my coaches hated it. They were like, oh yeah, there's CrossFit Kyle.
CrossFit Kyle was not your only nickname.
We don't have to talk about that. We really don't.
All right, fine. I won't blow up your spot, but with people asking in the comments, I might answer them.
And for anybody who does find out, I did not give it to myself. I promise you I didn't.
All right.
So anyways, yeah, I did. So I did both for 2 years, but I found, I guess, should we go into the CrossFit part of this?
Yeah, man.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I found CrossFit in high school, but I was against it, like 100% against it. Cause
How'd you find it? Like just on the internet, you saw people doing it?
no. So one of my football coaches, he was the lineman coach. So I talked to him a little bit. He was also my middle school PE coach. So I knew him pretty well.
Yeah.
He had opened up a gym and he got into that. He had lost a ton of weight because he was at one point a lineman. He was really fit, like looked great.
CrossFit gym.
So he opened up a CrossFit gym and he was still coaching. And I remember talking to my dad about it and he was very against it because he didn't want me to lose weight because there was a lot of conditioning.
Yeah.
He wanted me to be bigger for football. And I did too. I wanted to play football.
Yeah.
And then one day I just went and tried it with some of my friends and was like textbook, instantly hooked.
That like, what was the workout and what hooked you?
So I remember one of my first workouts was Fran.
It was.
Like for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I remember I managed to go unbroken on the thrusters and people thought that was super impressive at the time.
Yeah.
And the pull-ups, I was doing strict like chin-ups with a little bit of kipping.
Yeah.
And I just remember doing that and then being like, wow, this is really fun.
Did
like
it
this.
hurt the first time? Because I feel like if you do Fran and you had like a strength training background and you did it strict, there are some people that the first experience wasn't like the lay down on the floor crushed.
Yeah, I don't remember that. I remember my forearms just being so
Just
pumped.
blown up.
Yeah, like I felt like I couldn't straighten them out. Like that's the main thing that I remember.
Yeah.
And then I remember another workout that was running and kettlebell swings. And I was a track athlete, so I was really good at running.
Yeah.
And kettlebell swings weren't that hard.
Yeah.
Right. And I just did really good at that. And then I remember just thinking to myself, this is really fun. Like I want to continue to do this.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, someone told me you could do it for a living. And I was like, man, so you're telling me I can just make a living off of working out hard?
That sounds good.
Yeah, I'll do that. Cool. And from that point on, I just knew that's what I wanted to get into.
So you're, how old are you right now?
28.
28. So I met you around 24.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were in college, there had to have been like 3 or 4 years that you were doing it solo. What's that story?
Yeah, I played sports for 2 years in college. And then when I decided I wanted to pursue CrossFit officially, I needed a place to work out. And so I kind of just troubleshoot it. And I was like, maybe I can just work in the gym. I'll clean the gym there and then I'll just train on my own. So I applied for it, whatever, thinking it was just like a job for cleaning the gym. And I show up and it turns out it's an internship. So it's for strength conditioning.
Nice.
And I was like, okay. And I walk in like a total jabroni. I'm like, hey, what's up, man? Like not being professional. And he's like, he told me later at that time, he was like, oh, this dude has no idea what he's in for. And I didn't. But I go in there and I start working with these guys. So I start working with the athletes who I was once an athlete with alongside. And I'm coaching them and I'm learning about strength conditioning, but I'm also doing my own stuff, just coming up with random workouts, like trying to apply their strength principles, but then doing like lightweight snatches and burpees.
Yeah.
Doing all that stuff. But we didn't have a place to do like butterfly pull-ups or ring muscle-ups. So I was doing a lot of just strict pulling all the time.
Yeah.
And I kind of just made up my own stuff as I went along. And when the open would come around, I'd go back home to Murphy, spend an hour away, and I'd do the open. And then I would come back to school.
Because they had the equipment, they had kipping.
And it was like my home, so to speak. So I wanted to go back with those guys and do the open workout. So I would do that on the weekends and then come back to the gym and keep working.
And then when did you end up at Vitality?
That was after college. So I did that for 2 years. Graduated and then was trying to make the decision between still pursuing CrossFit or getting a job. And I just didn't want to get a job yet. I didn't want to give up on that dream. So I decided to just train full time and pick up a serving job. Some of my roommates had a serving job. So I did that for about 6 months and I would just train in our house garage and I would just train in the morning, train at night, work around my schedule. There was a local gym that opened up a local box. I'd go there and train. And then about 6 months later, I found Vitality, which was actually another crazy story there, how I found that job in connection.
Well, if it's crazy, then tell us.
Yeah.
I wish I knew what the button is. All I know is that pink one makes a weird noise.
I don't know any of them are.
Yeah.
It was spring break and my roommate was from the Concord area, which is just north of Charlotte.
Okay.
And he had been to Vitality before. So we were going on spring break. We were going to the coast for the week, and we were going to pass through Charlotte, coast of North Carolina.
Were you skateboarding there?
No, that's a different.
That's
story.
a whole nother crazy story. You're just full of crazy stories. Okay.
I guess so, yeah. We're really confusing the audience here.
Yeah, it's good.
But so we were on our way to just a spring break trip. We are going to go camping at the beach. It was just me and a couple buddies, and we wanted to stop at Vitality on the way. So we stopped there. We get there at like, I don't know, the 6 a.m. workout, and we kind of just roll in, and I meet Steve, who's Steve Pinkerton. Yeah, he's my old boss and old athlete, very good athlete, I should say. But so we roll in there, and we're like, "Hey man, what's up? We love the place." They're like, "Yeah, you guys want to hop in for a workout?" Like, all right, sure, why not? So we hop in, we do the workout. It was a workout that was like not too bad, so I ended up winning the workout. And I remember afterwards telling him that I was trying to train for regionals, and at the time he was like, yeah, okay, like that's what everyone says.
Yeah.
And I did good on the workout, and then he kind of put 2 and 2 together, and he was like, okay, so maybe he is legitimately trying to train for this. And I asked him for a job right there on the spot. I was like, hey, I mean, I'd love to be able to work in a gym. Would you be willing to potentially like have a conversation with me? Like, I would love to move out here. And is that possible for you?
That just like that.
Yeah. I mean, I worded it differently, right?
Yeah.
But I walked back in. I was like, hey, I mean, if you're looking to hire somebody,
Might as well take your shot.
Yeah. And he was like, let me get back to you on that. And we'll see what we can do. He reached out 2 weeks later and was like, hey man, we would love to have you. Like we need a coach here. You seem like a good guy. You're a great athlete. Like, let's have a conversation. And so we talked for the next month or so, and then decided to make the move to Charlotte and got a job there for 3 years, which is how I got connected with you.
Yeah.
Cause he used to be your athlete.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey man, you can't program for yourself anymore. you need to find a coach.
Structure. Yeah.
And so that's how it was when we had our first FaceTime, and we just kind of went from there, and that's how I got connected with you.
Yeah. So in that whole process, what have you found from like your sport background that you feel like has been a positive benefit to your CrossFit career, and what has been like a struggle as a result of your background, or no struggle?
Yeah, that's a good question. I did, track was really beneficial from being able to deal with the so-called burn standpoint, because we did 400s, 800s, 200s all the time.
Yeah.
So that resilience of like dealing with the fatigue was there, but we did not do a whole lot of strength work.
Yeah.
Football we did, but just trying to do both all the time was really detrimental. And so when I came into CrossFit, my strength numbers, like, as you know, were just far too low.
Yeah.
And I've had to spend more time working on strength. But the background of track and football was pretty beneficial just from an athletic standpoint.
Yeah. The strength numbers have definitely come up a lot over the course of the years.
Yeah.
What would you say? Like, I would imagine most athletes that come into CrossFit have some sort of sport background that gives them some skills that carry over, but maybe those skills that they have, like everything given, something is taken, they were kind of lacking in another area. What would you say, like, if you had to give people advice about how you navigated dealing with getting stronger, seeing fitness drop that you developed in track, and trying to like do the balancing act of CrossFit? Because I feel like that's the real struggle for a lot of people. When you came into CrossFit, you were a pretty exceptional runner, right? Like you would have been, and then we would like go to competitions and you would be like, dude, I'm heavy and I don't feel good running. And we've had this constant, it's a constant balancing act with every athlete, trying to figure out, how do we keep these skills up? How have you kind of personally navigated that? I know we have conversations about what to do with the training structure, and we've tried a bunch of different things, but I feel like ultimately it comes down to how does the athlete process that in here, and you've held on to the dream for a real long time. So you might have some valuable stuff to give to people on that.
Yeah, I think the first thing is having a conversation with a coach, but then also understanding the process and how much of a process it is.
Yeah.
Like I didn't realize how much it takes to build all of that up and keep it, and then be able to compete at that level.
Yeah.
Right. I thought it was just train for a year. I'm pretty good at this. I should be
I'm going to be a games athlete next year.
But now I'm almost 10 years into this. If I started at 18, and I'm still like fighting to make the games. So I think accepting that it's going to be a process is number one. But then a tangible thing that I found for me was putting things in my warm up. Like I remember after Granite Games, that was when I realized my running had gone downhill because the trail run we did there, I just bombed.
Yeah.
And I was planning on like coming close to winning that.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking, okay, I've got to find a way to put running back into my programming, but without being taken away from everything else.
Yeah.
So I just put it in my warm up, like every day for I don't know how many months. I would just run for 10 minutes, and to make it harder, I would just breathe through my nose. So I would just run for 10 minutes, cover a mile and a half, whatever it was, use it as my warm up, and then go right into the rest of the session. And that really helped keep my running volume up without taking away from everything else. So little things like that, you can add it into your warm up, add it into your cool downs, whatever. And then also accepting that it's just part of the process. Like it's going to go up and down.
Yeah. I guess as kind of follow-up question to the same question, but you talked about wanting to do this for a career for, you know, from early in college, 20 years old, 19, whatever age you found it. And now you train with two people that actually do it for a career.
Right.
But there's a pretty stark contrast in terms of like resources that are given to people that are multi-time games athletes that have these huge followings and the people that are grinding away doing the same training. I mean, you're making the same commitment, but you got to get there first before you get access to that, you know, level of treatment. How do you keep that motivation up during those times? Or what have you learned from training in that environment and just seeing what that day-to-day process looks like?
Yeah. I mean, that's been really challenging in some regards, like especially financially. It's an investment to do this sport, to do any sport, right?
Yeah.
And you have to be able to pay for supplements. You got to pay for your food. You got to pay for a place to stay, and you got to dot all your I's and cross all your T's to make sure. Dot all your I's. Cross
Okay,
your T's.
that is right.
I said it right.
I made sure dot all your T's, cross your I's. No, you got it right. Yeah. You did.
You got to make sure.
I know I did it. I was like, hold on. Yeah. That's good. You got it.
So, you got to make sure you do all of that in order to be able to put yourself in an optimal position to train and compete. But if you don't know why you're doing it, you're not going to want to do it.
Yeah.
Right. So I've heard Kyle Ruth talk about this, where you got to find your why. Everyone's talked about it. You got to know why you're doing what it is. And for a while that was kind of hard for me to figure out, but I got to a place where I just learned that for me, it was more about I just love doing this. Like I love the feeling of going in there and training hard and competing with these guys, whether I win or lose. And B, I just love the feeling of like conquering myself, right? The demon inside of all of us that says, okay, do you want to slow down? Yeah, I do want to slow down, but then you don't slow down, right?
Yeah.
Or you just keep pushing a little bit harder, and just the feeling of like finishing a workout and knowing that I did exactly what I needed to do is something that feels really good to me. And like waking up every day, training hard, and ending the day, knowing that I did everything I could, is a satisfying feeling for me. And that's honestly what kind of keeps me going.
I feel like, so our, I guess, like accomplishments as coach athlete, or really they're your accomplishments, and I've just been there, would be like qualifying for those big events, but no like major podiums or major big wins. But I feel like from conversation and from seeing you compete, some of the highest moments that you have been times where you're super fearful or anxious about a situation, or you don't feel prepared, and you go up and you step up to the plate. So it's almost like this emotional reward system that's almost completely separated from winning and losing, that seems to fulfill you and it's part of your journey, part of your process. Is that, would I be accurate in saying that?
Yeah. I mean, 100%. And it really stemmed from, you remember maybe 2 or 3 years ago when you and I had a hard conversation where you actually,
You're about to put me on the spot here.
I know. We kind of, not to put you on the spot, but we kind of butted heads where you told me, you gave me a really honest opinion. You said, hey man, based on what's going on in your body, I was getting tweaked all the time.
Oh yeah.
I couldn't train. I wasn't sleeping good, just couldn't sleep for some reason. And you're like, hey man, I think you might need to like take a step back and think about doing something else. And I remember like I was, frustrated, of course, but you were telling me like your honest opinion. But within all of that was going on, I really had to like learn how to be an athlete. So I remember I started reading a lot of books. I would start journaling. I started just kind of spending time reflecting on things. And I learned more about it's more important to focus on your effort than it is about an outcome of something. So don't focus on, I want to win this. focus on what you can control, because the only thing you can control is your effort.
Yeah.
And so that mindset, just kind of drilling that in over time, has honestly been the most beneficial thing for me. But it came from like struggling, you telling me I probably can't do this as a career, and like it was just, hard times that kind of led to
another athlete proving me wrong. Like I can do this. Screw you.
I wouldn't say I don't think I've proved you wrong yet, but I mean, it's just, it was, all that kind of led to this.
Yeah. I mean, you've had a ton of periods of, we had I think it was that period of time where you hadn't touched a barbell for months. It was probably 7 months that and it was back that we're dealing with, right?
It was back, and it's been my elbows too.
Yeah.
I'm plagued with elbow issues.
Yeah. And I remember that conversation, but so what do you think the primary thing, you've had this very weird process that I can't really fully understand what it is. Like, for example, leading into this year's open, you didn't do any muscle ups, no bar muscle ups whatsoever for 2 months.
Probably 2 months. Yeah.
Because we were dealing with shoulder, elbow, and I was concerned, and I'm obviously going to express that concern. So anytime it comes up, you told me like, hey, I'm going to change this to accessory work, do this. What do you think about this? And I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, I think that's better than nothing for sure. Yeah. So but I'd always put a little comma, but I think we need to get back to that as soon as possible. The competition's coming. You did your first muscle up, I think the week of 21.3 and 0.4. Yeah. And then you beat Travis on that workout. Right. I mean, I know there's a lot of other variables. He'll probably get pissed at me for saying that. Yeah, no. So it's not a dig on Travis. It's more so just, I found that to be one of the most impressive things that I saw, that you went through that process of not doing anything to train for the thing and then being able to execute under pressure. What is that? How have you, and you got back to being strong after not being on a barbell. What would you attribute to being able to improve when it looks like you're not doing the things in the gym that are required to improve? Do you think it's the outside the gym stuff? Do you think it's your approach to accessory work? Like help me understand and help other people see there might be other methods to development that maybe, could help you navigate those tweaks and injuries and aches and pains for different types of bodies and styles of people.
Yeah. I think the number one thing was just learning from different people through research, through talking to them, through stories, whatever it is, learning about how other people have been tweaked and injured before and how they've navigated it. And then seeing that they've come back on the other side of it stronger than before, doing something completely opposite than what they should have been doing, right? If they need to train clean and jerks, but they can't because they've got something going on their groin, and they just do light goblet squats for a little while, a lot of accessory, whatever it is, and then they come back and they're PR and they're clean and jerk. It's like, okay, so that's definitely possible. And it comes back to also what I was saying earlier, where focusing on effort every day and just kind of making the most of whatever the day can give you and finding ways creatively to work around the injury. So I know for me, when I do muscle ups, it's always grip fatigue and shoulder fatigue. So in my head, I'm like, okay, well, what can I do that's going to make me feel the same thing without hurting it? And for me, it's been like heavy farmer's carries, heavy front rack, double kettlebell carries, lots of rowing, whatever it is that I can do. And I just, in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, this is going to help me on muscle ups. So when I get to muscle ups, I just kind of built up that confidence or that idea that I haven't missed a beat.
So it's like the belief that what you're doing, even though it's not the thing that you want to ultimately be doing, is leading to improvement in the thing that you want to be doing in the future.
Yeah, I would say that's the number one thing. Caveat there, because I could see somebody being like,
I never have to snatch.
or I can eat fast food, but I believe this is the calories I need. So within a certain realm there, I think the stimulus that I'm feeling is my belief of like, okay, I'm feeling a burn in my shoulders, the same burn I feel in handstand push-ups. It's got to be translating over somehow. Yeah. And that belief, I think, has been really effective.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you have any other beliefs about yourself or about your training or about your process or about, I know you do a lot of sauna.
I do. Yeah.
About the stuff that you do in addition to just training. Yeah.
I'm a little bit nerdy in the sense that I like.
You're a beach bum, a mountain man, and a nerd.
Oh, yeah. All in one. I like studying like the longevity side of health and fitness. So like biohacking is what they call it.
Yeah.
But it really just means like you're just trying to get your body into the most optimal state you can through things that would be easy, so to speak, right? Like hopping in the sauna helps elevate your HGH levels if you're in there for 20 minutes. It's like, okay, well, I would like to have that. So
That sounds good. I'll take some of that.
And it also has a lot of longevity effects that come with it. So I get in the sauna, drinking wine. Wine has something in it called resveratrol. Resveratrol turns on a certain gene in your body that has to do with anti-aging, like getting rid of oxidative stress. So it's like, in my mind, I research all this stuff because if I can keep myself as young as possible biologically for as long as possible, I'm going to be able to train longer and harder than everyone else. So right now at 28, maybe I'm not at games level like Noah is, right? Noah is more fit than I am in a lot of regards right now. But let's say I can outlast him for another 5 years. No dig on Noah. Noah's amazing. But I'm saying if I can keep pushing, the chances of me being able to get to a level I want to get at are, far greater.
Should we get you a wine sponsorship?
Yeah, shout out to somebody.
Yeah, there's got to be some wine.
Yeah.
But
that's just the kind of way I look at it. Again, it's I don't know. I mean, I drink if I'm drinking.
Do you get the Walmart wine?
I definitely get the cheaper ones, but I try to get an organic cheap one.
I found out John is a little bit of a wine snob, and he told me I picked one up. I'm like, come on, you can't really tell the difference. And I got one. He's like, that thing is full of sugar. And I looked on the back, and it literally is, and it does taste worse.
Yeah. I mean, there's a significant difference in the types of wine you get. If I'm drinking a wine, it's going to be a red wine. I usually just drink like a cab, some sort of Cabernet, and that's
you're so high class.
Yeah, I need to have a conversation with John. I'm not as high class as it may seem, I guess.
Tell me about the cross country skateboarding adventure. That's a good story. Even though it might not be that good of a story when told on the podcast, I feel like it's a pretty interesting thing that most people don't do.
Yeah. So what Max is referring to is my tattoo on my arm.
Yeah.
I don't know if people can see it, but I'm gonna pull it up just a little bit.
Just give it a little flex too. So
Show it to that camera.
Yeah.
I think the mic's in the way. But anyways, so the tattoo itself is an anchor, and at the top, the crossbar is a longboard. And at first glance, it's like, okay, that's kind of stupid. But what it signifies is my best friend and I, back in like 2015 or something, we longboarded from Fort Mill, South Carolina to Myrtle Beach, which ended up being like, 170 miles. And we did it over the course of 3 days. And it was for no other reason than like, let's just do it to do it.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of your MO.
Like we really just wanted to have a story.
Yeah.
We wanted to finish it and be like to tell a cool story. And no one thought we would do it. They're like, you guys are not going to do it. That's way too hard, way too far. And we were like, okay, we're definitely doing it now. And we did. So we started in Fort Mill. My buddy, I dropped off my Jeep there and at his house. So another buddy, we dropped off there in Fort Mill. He drove my Jeep to Myrtle Beach because he had a competition there that weekend, a CrossFit competition. And my friend Mike and I, we started on longboards right there and just mapped out our trail and just went.
That is insane. What did you do? Did you go uphill?
Can
you longboard uphill?
You can. It's way harder. So we would walk a lot of the hills.
Yeah.
Unless it was like relatively
almost flat.
Yeah. Then we would ride. But then obviously all the flats and all the downhills we would go. And then when we got really lucky, we'd hit a stretch of like flat, smooth road. And then that was like your reward. And you would just go. And we would ride. We had a system. We would ride for an hour and stop for 5 minutes, drink water, eat something, and then
no falls or anything?
Only fell once. And it was it was me. I fell.
Yeah.
It was this dumbest thing. I was riding super slow, just kind of chilling. And I saw like a few pieces of gravel and I was like, it'll be fine. And my wheel caught it and I fell over. I was like, of all times, like, of all the things we've done this whole trip, now I fall.
3 days of being on a longboard. And you didn't skateboard before that?
No, I bought both of our longboards a week before we left. And I had never been on a longboard before.
Never.
And so the whole time I was like falling, really unstable.
I've seen you ride now though. You're pretty smooth.
Oh, that trip made me really good at it.
Just one time probably for that many hours. You just automatically develop skills.
Yep. And it was when we got there, we were so beat up. Like my buddy's pinky toe was almost falling off. It was so blistered.
Really?
My left Achilles, my kicking leg, was so swollen. I thought I'd either ruptured it or like I had rhabdo.
Really?
It was massively swollen. And my right leg, both of our right legs, from being in like a static quarter squat position for so long, were incredibly sore. And it was all the little things you don't think about, like the backpack going side to side the whole time. We had blisters on our low back, blisters on our shoulders, like little things you don't think about, but the third day you start to really feel.
Yeah, that's super impressive. But it brings a thought. So now you try to be a more mindful athlete. You think about what goes in your body, what you do. You also, over the years, I mean, you call me out for challenging you. You also challenge a lot. I think I have a lot of athletes that are just comfortable to be like, hey, I want to do this, or I don't agree with this, or whatever it is. There's a balance of trying to have intelligent program design and structure and getting better through like the long game and through progression. There's also something to be said about just getting better from doing dumb, hard shit. Like you probably in that one period of time on your longboard for 3 days or however many hours of work you put in, you fucked your body up pretty good, but you also got really good at longboarding really quick. So there is some sort of development process of just being like, hey, put yourself in the fire. And if you don't burn, you're going to be really good. I kind of think the same thing for CrossFit. Sometimes I sometimes worry I'm not pushing people hard enough out of their comfort zones. You generally like to accept crazy challenges and do like the 1,000 step up challenge came up. And like, my first thought is like, I'll never do this. Your first thought is like, oh, let's do this. What's your thought process on that? You think as athletes or as a person, just stepping out of your comfort zone into almost risky situations is necessary for development? You think you got to be careful of it? You think having a coach to kind of keep the reins on is important if you have that type of disposition? Do you even have thoughts on that? Do you think about it?
I think you've got to know yourself first before you step into something like that. Like, I don't want to speak for Travis, but I feel like I can. I've been around him a lot. Travis doesn't seem like the type who likes to do crazy stuff in that regard. Like he's kind of like,
very calculated.
He's like, that's so dumb. I'm not going to do that. And he'll say that. Whereas myself, like you said, I like the idea of it, but I think it's about knowing your own mindset and what makes you, again, believe that you're doing something that's effective for whatever you're doing. So he knows that if he does the training you give him, he believes that that's enough and that's going to work for him. I like to think, and whether it's right or wrong, I need to get in those uncomfortable situations where my mind is really challenged, my body is extremely challenged, in order to feel like I can conquer that in myself. And when I go into workouts, it might not be easier, but I've been there before.
What's the most uncomfortable workout situation you can ever remember being in?
Oh, Lord. Oh, that's a tough one, man. Honestly, there was one. There's maybe two, but one I can think of right now was my first weekend visiting here back in 2016. It was me, Travis, and Chandler Smith. And
go ahead. You tell.
So you gave us a workout and it said beside it, has to be done in the sun. And it was, that was the first thing where I was like, okay, I'm doing that. I'm not going to be in the shade while Travis is out in the sun. I'm going to go out in the sun with him. But it was a 1 mile run, 100 power snatch at 95 pounds, 1 mile run, I think 100 overhead squats at 95 pounds. And then I think a third 1 mile run. And at the time that was like hellacious.
Dude, I remember Chandler. We should definitely do that. So that was the year after they did Murph.
And that's what you had.
We were purposefully trying to do some heat adaptation and heat acclimation stuff. And I remember Chandler, he's in the military and he's like,
he crushed it.
He's been very sensitive to ensuring there's like no overheating and stuff. And I remember at one point he got out of the sun, came in, got water, and he's like, it's really hot and I'm not risking overheating. I got to take care of my body. And I was like, all right, cool.
I mean, I just remember that workout and just suffering. And you guys were, I think you guys were getting worried at one point.
I definitely was. Half the time I coach CrossFit, I'm like, I can't do one of these workouts in a week, and I'm prescribing 8 of these in a day.
Right. Yeah. You guys were out there like, hey, you want some water? Like as we're running. I would like some water. You guys
were soaked. It looked like you had gone swimming. And I mean, part of me is like super concerned. And the other part of me is like, well, if they go out and they repeat Murph again at 12 o'clock heat in California, they got to have some exposure to this type of feeling and how to regulate pace. Cause it's different. It's like when people train for Badlands, you have to do some heat exposure, or they train in the sauna and try to get your body acclimated to that. We had done a bunch of research before that, but maybe that workout was
I remember
aggressive.
I remember you saying, and maybe this is wrong, but I remember you saying it takes 12 sessions that in the sun.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly. I think it was somewhere around 2 weeks of adaptation, and we were like 3 weeks out from the games or something like that, right?
Yeah. I remember, again, not to throw dirt on Travis, but I remember Travis was beat up that week.
He broke that workout.
Yeah, he was hurting.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, I think you're right. You have to go in those situations in order to be prepared for whatever could come.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it'd be the equivalent of, instead of using a Spiel bar, use a powder coat bar. It's like it's the same thing. That's not as detrimental to your health potentially, right? But it's training for a harder situation, so that way when you get there, it's going to be easier.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Same concept, I think.
We put up some questions on IG while I'm pulling them up. You got anything over there? Peanut Gallery? All right, so this question, this last question is also the first question. How does it feel to be the most beautiful man in CrossFit? And the first one is, what is it like being so handsome? You can answer those questions, or you can say what your college nickname was. Either one would be fine.
You just want me to say that,
don't you? Sexy Kyle.
Okay.
What's your what's your go-to cheat meal?
Dang, what is my go-to cheat meal? Probably some sort of ice cream. Usually
what flavor?
Just vanilla or cookies and cream.
Vanilla ice cream is your go-to cheat meal? You're the most vanilla guy I've ever met.
Thank you, man. Or pizza. I do enjoy pizza.
All right. What flavor? Or just plain?
Usually like a Hawaiian barbecue style.
Hawaiian barbecue?
Yeah.
That's Hawaiian and barbecue chicken together? I thought they only put pineapple and like ham.
Hawaiian barbecue's a thing.
It is?
Yeah.
All right. I've never heard of that.
It's fantastic.
I'll try that out. What's the Stoic phrase you like the most?
To improve, one must be willing. No, sorry. To improve, one must be content to be thought foolish and stupid by Epictetus.
That is good.
I really like that because if you think about
This
it.
man knew the quote.
Yeah, I know. Well done. Well played. I did not. Yeah.
I like it because if you think about it, anytime you want to do something, at least in your mind, that you feel like it's going to be something of self-improvement, there's always somebody who's going to make fun of you for doing it.
The hater.
Right.
They always exist.
And so in that moment, you've got to be content to be thought foolish and stupid because you want to improve. So I like that.
I do like that. All right. From Noah, ask him to tell you about our new podcast idea. Gonna blow Corpus Animus out of the water. First of all, Noah, get out of the gym. You're not welcome here anymore.
So we talked about this last night, actually. We all go to the local LA Fitness together to get in the sauna. Yeah. And it's just, we were like, man, how funny would it be if we started some sort of like sauna podcast? We set up gear in the sauna and our guests were whoever came in to get in the sauna. So
just the random LA Fitness
random guy walks in, hey, welcome our guest. What's your name? And we just have a conversation with him.
That actually would be pretty entertaining. You guys should try it out.
Yeah.
Although don't take our podcast mics because I'm pretty sure you'd mess them up.
Yeah, we definitely would.
What's the farthest you've ever longboarded? We already know that story.
Yep.
Who's the most fit average guy that you know? By the way, hold on. How do you define average guy?
I don't know. Like just a gym member?
Like somebody who's not competing in CrossFit?
Oh, I know who.
Me.
Brandon Dorman.
Yeah.
He's an incredibly fit, non-competing athlete.
Yeah, but yeah. All right, fine. Fair enough.
I mean,
I just don't want to give him credit because I hate the fact that he's so fit.
It's okay. I'll give you credit, Brandon. You're extremely fit.
All right. I'm assuming that D Goin _4. Do you know who that is?
Damon Go. Yeah, that's one of my old buddies.
He's going to be upset that you didn't say that he was the most fit average guy. Is he fit?
He's very fit, actually.
Okay.
He is.
Is he as fit as Brandon? No.
Unfortunately. No. But here's the thing. Not many people are.
I mean, Brandon beats games athletes on specific workouts.
Yeah,
so.
he seeks no credit. So kudos to you, man.
All right. What's the secrets to Kyle's meaty legs?
Okay.
you have get out of here. You have a secret for why your legs are meaty?
No, but I know when it happened, like when the change in my legs happened. So first off, I appreciate the compliment.
Yep.
Second off, it was in high school, man. For football, every time in advanced PE is the fourth period, right? We would run 300s every single day, fast paced. Like we called them 2s, 4s, and 6s. And so we'd line up on the line, the
2s, 4s, and 6s,
yeah.
but you're running 300s?
No, so this, I'm gonna explain it.
Okay.
So we'd line up, if this is the court, right? Like we'd line up along the sideline, and our coach would say a number, either 2 or 4 or 6, and it would be a down. If it was a 2, it'd be down, back, down, back. If it's 4, you know, whatever, and then 6 would be in the actual 300, and he would just pick a random number every time, and we would just have to. And we had certain times you had to make based on your position, and I was in a speed position. I was a slot receiver.
Yeah.
So I had to go, and he would say 2. We'd rest, and then the next group would go. The next group would go. He'd be like 6. He'd run a 6. Next group, 4. Over and over, and that like changed my legs forever.
Really?
Yeah.
It made him bigger.
Yeah, I remember because I remember that season we were watching film, and one of our linemen was like, "Dude, your legs are massive." I was like, I didn't even like, and I kind of equated it back to running. I just remember feeling my legs get stronger and bigger during that time.
Interesting. Were you the type of person during conditioning, like in football, who was always winning and who was always in the lead? And like,
I didn't think you were going to say that.
What were you going to say?
I thought you were going to say like I enjoyed it.
Oh, you did enjoy it?
I enjoyed it.
Oh, okay.
Yes. Always winning. There was one other guy.
Oh, that fucking guy.
But he was a stud. Honestly, he was.
What's he doing now?
What'd you say?
What's he doing now?
You think you could beat him in conditioning now?
I do think so. Yeah. But at the time, he was like the other guy on the team who was just a really good athlete, like all the way around. So it was, if I was beating him, it was a really good day.
Yeah.
You know, if he was beating me, we were always super close back and forth.
You loved conditioning.
I did. Yeah. And that's why when I found out CrossFit was a thing, it's like, yes. I
hated it. And then somehow I got sucked into CrossFit. I don't know how that happened.
That is actually really funny.
Yeah, it is. I think it was like I got to prove I'm not mentally weak thing more than anything.
See, it's in there too for you.
Yeah, but see, the resentment is a fuel that burns real hot, but it doesn't keep you. There's no longevity to it. The love and passion you had kept you in the game.
That's fair.
All right. This isn't necessarily. Oh, yeah, I guess this is kind of 3 questions. Biggest training focus, most useful recovery method, which we'll say is sauna.
Probably.
All right. So biggest training focus and favorite movie.
Okay. So favorite movie, there's 2 of them. It's either Forrest Gump or Friday Night Lights.
Good movies. What if you had to pick?
Probably Friday Night Lights.
Why?
I honestly like how sad it is.
Oh,
which sounds dark, but to me it feels more real, right? Because the end, I don't want to be a spoiler alert, but at the end, like they don't win.
Yeah,
and the reality is,
that's life.
That's life. You're not gonna win everything.
Yeah,
and you could have an amazing season and great story, and sometimes it's just not gonna pan out. And so to me, like it just feels more realistic, and I like that.
So in Forrest Gump, which character would you be? Forrest, Lieutenant Dan, Jenny?
Is that another question?
No, I'm just wondering.
You're just
yeah.
I'd probably be Lieutenant Dan.
All right. Who is the most laziest outside of the gym? Who is the most laziest outside of the gym?
Who's the laziest outside the gym?
I guess would that be like of the people who train? Of the people here who train.
Outside is the most lazy.
Are you looking at Chris?
No,
you just don't want to throw someone under the bus.
Should I say it?
Yeah, just say it. Come on, let it out. I have somebody in my head. I want to know if it's right.
It'd probably be my roommate.
Which one?
Jake.
Jake.
Is that what you were going to say?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking because you were so hesitant. And I was like, this is somebody he's close with.
JB, I love you, bro. I promise you I do.
What does he do with, now we got to blow up his spot even more. What does he do with his lazy time? Just lay and like watch TV and lounge?
Yeah, that or he takes a lot of naps.
Really?
And
he's a sleeper.
He like KOs during them too, just gone for a couple hours.
That's my favorite.
At least I think his door's closed. Could just be, I don't know, whatever, watching TV. But
all right, when are you coming back for poker night?
Who said that?
Adam.
I don't think I'm ever going back to poker night.
Why?
I lose my $20 in the first 2-3 rounds.
All right, so you're not a gambler. That's not your biggest vice.
No,
all right.
No, it's not.
What is your biggest vice? Do you have one?
Probably ice cream.
Vanilla. Who is Kyle Bernier? Let's say you can only answer this question first with one word.
Who is Kyle Bernier?
Philosopher.
I honestly don't even know how to answer
one
that.
sentence.
One sentence.
A man who likes Lyft.
A man who likes to find a passion in life.
All right. Deal. Favorite day of the week?
Friday.
Why?
Oh, there's just something about Friday. Like you bring it in the weekend.
All right.
And the energy in here is always really good.
Why did you delete your Instagram? And why you got a new one now? And this person has put 4 question marks on the first one and 2 question marks on the second. So I'm assuming he wants to know why you deleted your Instagram more.
More than why we brought it back. Yeah. I wanted to kind of cleanse my mind of like all the just toxic stuff on social media.
Like did you see the social dilemma first?
I did
and
see
then
that.
delete it?
That was part of it. It wasn't
Okay.
all of it, but it was definitely part of it. So I wanted to just separate myself from that for a while, and I wanted to just completely eliminate it. And then we revamped it because career-wise, I want to find a way to find sponsors, make some money. So.
Do you think as you go through your next wave of social media, you're going to start to put up very provocative imagery of yourself?
I would never do that. No.
All right. Sometimes I don't want to give people the satisfaction of hearing these questions answered or asked on the podcast, but I feel like whatever, let's have some fun. Would you rather have stinky farts and everyone knows it's you, or poop yourself and no one knows? It's actually a decent would you rather.
Stinky farts, everyone knows. Poop yourself, no one knows. I feel like that one's pretty obvious. I would choose.
I would definitely poop myself.
I'm only laughing sorry because Chris just lost it. Okay, maybe it isn't obvious.
Yeah, it's obvious for you. I want to hear now.
Wait.
I want to hear your rationale as to why one of these is such a clear winner.
Now I feel really dumb.
No, it's good. I want to know.
Wait, so what's the degree in which you're pooping yourself?
Yeah. I mean,
Like,
you got a turd in your underwear.
Is this full on like wake up in the morning, gotta go?
Yeah, sure.
But no one knows.
Well, you know.
And you gotta deal with it.
I'm fine with that, honestly.
Well, now you gotta go home.
But that's the thing. If no one knows, like,
You're just going to leave it there?
I leave, take care of business,
coaching.
come on back. How often is it happening though? Is this a 1-a-day thing or a 3-a-day thing?
We'll have to get a follow-up question at some
Yeah,
point.
there's a lot of questions within those questions.
This is going to be the last question. How do you stay so consistent with training over a long period of time? I don't know if the mic should pick that up, but we don't need to.
How do I stay so consistent and motivated? Was that part of it?
No, it says, how do you stay consistent in training for such a long period of time?
Stay healthy. And I think how you do that is through accessory work. So like I don't know, whatever it is, just making sure you're doing things for your body that keeps you healthy. And usually that's some sort of, I like to call it unilateral work.
Yeah. So you're talking about joint health.
Yeah, joint health.
But I guess you also do things for, like, you take care of your nutrition, you get out in the sun a lot, you do some supplementation.
Yeah, I mean, I think all that stuff you've got to have dialed in, because you can't just be like, hey, I want to train every single day, twice a day, and not change a lot of other things to encompass that, because you're going to break down at some point.
Yeah.
So to stay consistent, you've got to dial in all those things. And then again, find your why. Like, why do you want to do it?
Oh, we have a question from the audience.
Asking for a friend.
Chris is asking for a friend.
If the friend is really pasty white,
If
what
the
tanning advice do you have for him?
If the friend is very pasty white, how do you get a nice, excellent color on your skin?
You're as dark as I am. Why do you do it?
I didn't ask this question. I'm not being interviewed on this podcast.
Just get out in the sun, man.
All right.
And that will take care of it.
All right.
Or there's some like pretty good non-toxic spray tanners on the web you can find.
You know a lot about that. Do you use it?
I'm just kidding. I've never used that.
Oh, okay.
But people always think I do. They think I either go to the tanning bed or I spray tan, and I promise I don't.
How much time do you spend outside every day? You feel like you do have some pretty good color going right now. Now that I notice it.
Yeah, I mean, I probably accumulate an hour's worth a day.
Huh.
Some days are more, but I try to get at least that much.
Nice. All right, there you have it, everyone. 1 hour's worth of sun a day, sauna, resveratrol and wine, accessory work galore, longboarding.
Read
Kyle
books.
Bernier. Thanks, brother.
Hey, man, thanks.